Okay. How do I volunteer or give back time? The Equity Online branch, essentially. I'm a member of Equity, the trade union for the entertainment industry. And when I started my career, I was very fortunate to work on excellent contracts which were union negotiated. So it's always been part of my working history. Now, Equity as a trade union has a history of being a closed shop in the 80s, 70s, 80s, maybe early 90s, which essentially made getting into the union a bit of a badge of honour. So, for example, you couldn't get a job unless you were a member of Equity, but you couldn't get an Equity membership unless you had a job. So there was kind of a catch-22 situation. Anyway, that ended a long time ago, which I'll not go into. But it left behind it this mythical legacy. But now, as long as you're working in the industry and you're earning, doesn't have to be on a contract, you can get in. So I think it is probably unique that it does have that lifestyle element, that even though you're not working, people still retain their membership. And there's pride in that membership as well. So anyway, there are around about 45,000 members in Equity. Sorry to go into all of that, but okay, this is future me. Whilst I was editing this, I got to the end and realised that I hadn't actually said what it was that I did for the online branch. So at the moment I'm moderator, but I've been working with the online branch for about 3 or 4 years to actually develop the platform, and I'm still very much involved at a core level at getting it to be moved and improved. So with that said, continue. The online branch is a element of the industry that's trying to go digital, and it's trying to address the people who aren't able to attend the general branches are all over the country. The online branch is supposed to facilitate those that aren't able to attend physically. And that could be for all sorts of reasons. And the online branch was conceived to address that. And what that means is the mechanism in which a branch exists, which essentially is for people to come together, decide that something needs to be done, put that into a formal proposition, agree that locally we think this should happen, and then that can be taken back to head office. So that's the basic mechanism. Although there's a social element, there is a big part of the decision and democratic juggernaut, if you like, behind it. So the temptation to go back and start this again. But I think I'm going to try and carry on with this, because that's the whole point. And I might have to edit bits and pieces out. So who knows, you might be getting in this, but you might not. So anyway, the online branch does operate as a digital entity, and any member of Equity can join it. And once they've opted in, they are able to join the chat room and make comments and post questions. It's incredibly basic, and I think that's the thing that frustrates me about it. Although I give a lot of time to it because it matters. It matters that it's there. It's quite frustrating in its limitations. It isn't Facebook. It isn't even a basic bulletin board. But it's there, and the process of which it's taken to get it there is quite massive. And it's evolving now. And as I say, this is the first time I've really talked about it, and I always find it very difficult to sum it up very succinctly. So I do hope that going through my edit, I could be able to do something about that. But as I have my trusty wall here, we have chat room, then there's a way of proposing a motion, and then that motion has to be seconded, and then that motion has to be debated. During the debate, there has to be a mechanism in which amendments and changes can be put forward, and then there has to be a mechanism in which those amendments can be debated and agreed before finally going to the vote. And then once it's voted, and there only has to be 10 votes, either for or against, but collectively there has to be 10 people voting for that vote to count. And then if it's a vote of yes, it's good, that then goes to the General Secretary, who's the top head honcho, and then she decides whether that goes to council or whether it goes to one of the industrial committees to have a decision made on. So essentially anybody within the union has the power to log into the online branch, propose a motion and go through this process. And when it was in the making, that capability, that capacity is really powerful for people, and that I think my continued involvement with equity is about this democratisation of workers in the entertainment industry. Because if you're working on a contract, it can be pretty okay. You know, do you get bought out of your contract or do you work on the contract? And there's management agencies which negotiate with equity so that those contracts exist. But if you are outside of that mainstream, which I think a large proportion are, if you're outside that mainstream and you're just a freelancer, knowing you can go to equity for support is one major advantage of membership. Having some sort of basic insurance and the ability to extend that if you want to cover different things is really important. So the online branch is how I give my time. I hope that's been interesting. I'd love to hear what you think, any comments, and of course if you are a member of the online branch and you've heard this or you're an equity member, I hope that gives you a little bit of an insight into, you know, how much it means to me. It's really important to me, and I haven't given any insights into how I manage it and the insides. I could have shown screenshots and stuff like that, but I've been trying not to do that with Vader. But as I say, I'll put some info here, and move on with Vader.